Good day, everyone. This is Terry Difazio, and welcome to Soundcheck. Here to my right and your left is the incredible Todd Pronto, and we're here to bore you for the next hour. So sit back, relax, and let's get at it.
Cheers.
For sure. Today we've chosen a very odd topic, and it was something that that I've seen talked about, especially, you see this on the NFL Network a lot, you know, the top 10 something or others. Well, we've come up with a list of 10 or maybe more of the biggest blunders in rock and roll music, things that musicians have done that have really messed up their careers.
Right.
And Todd's going to give you the modern history, and I'm going to give you the Middle Ages. So
Are you going all the way back to classical music?
Probably about the 14th century. No.
Classical rock.
Actually, I'm going to probably start in the 60s at some time and then move forward. So anyways, I have a bunch of them here. Some of these people you've heard of. We're going to put up slides of some of these people so you know who they are. And there's a few here that I know you haven't heard of, but their screw-ups were so immense that they just had to make the list, you know.
It happens.
And I know you must have several that are pretty good on this list.
I do. I have a few different good ones from the '90s, even some older ones.
Really?
I might go back into your era a little bit. We'll see. We'll see if we have any that we both have the same.
Spanish Inquisition?
Yes.
Okay.
Monty Python's version, though.
Yes. Okay, I'll start with one, and then you can do the next one. I've got one here that is going to be something someone you've probably not heard of, but there was back in 1979 or so, as many of you know, the former singer for ACCDC died of alcohol asphyxiation. Right. That's a good word, asphyxiation.
Boz Scaggs.
Yeah. Boy, he was pretty scaggy that day, I'll tell you. Yes, Bon Scott decided to drink too much, too often, and aspirated on his own vomit and died. The same year, as a matter of fact, that John Bonham of Led Zeppelin did. But
did the same thing, right?
Did the same thing. However, from what I was told, and I don't know how true this is, but I was told that his BAC was 3 times that of Bonham's.
Really?
And if anybody ever saw Bon Scott, he was a skinny little guy. He wasn't very big.
Yeah, and Bonham was a husky dude.
Yeah, he was. So anyways, ACCDC is searching for a new singer, and they come across this German band called Krokus. And I've heard of Krokus. I even had a couple of their albums way back in 80, 81, 82. And they were from Switzerland, actually. And the man's name was Mark Storas. And I will put up a graphic of him. And ACCDC said, you know, you sound a lot like Bon Scott. Will you join our band? And he said, no, I'm going to stay with Krokus. You know, we're an up-and-coming thing. And 2 or 3 albums later, nobody ever heard of them.
And ACCDC was already a thing.
Yeah, and they still are, as a matter of fact. Did you watch the Grammys or whatever?
I've seen parts of the Grammys. I missed. They were the opening. From what I've been reading, they opened up the Grammys. I missed it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure it's on the YouTube and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, I don't watch those. As I told Todd earlier in the week, I don't watch any of those award shows after 1989, when they gave Jethro Tull the heavy metal album of the year over Metallica.
Did he win Best Electric Flute Solo?
It must have been. Ian Anderson was rolling over in his grave, and he wasn't even dead yet. Probably all the guys in Jethro Tull are going, huh? What the heck is this?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I guess some people liked it, some didn't. I don't know.
Oh, the ACDC thing?
Yeah.
I'm
not a big fan of ACDC, and it's, you know, being a musician myself and always, you know, being in different bands, I'm like the only one that doesn't like ACDC out of almost everybody I know, and they don't understand, and I don't understand them.
That's okay.
But I do like It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll.
That was good.
That was Boz Scaggs.
Nah, that was Bon Scott, Boz Scaggs. So speaking of Boz Scaggs, Bon Scott, that reminds me of a funny story that no one will have ever heard of.
Okay.
Do you remember when there was such a thing as the Fillmore East?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I've read about it.
Yeah, I remember when that went down. As a matter of fact, they made a movie about it. It was a very good movie. I have the movie.
You made me a copy of it.
And there was a couple of bands. Boss Skaggs was one, and there was another band called Cold Blood. And Bill Graham, whose real name was something, he had a very, very strange German name. Oh, gosh, what's it? Wolfgang something or other. Anyways, the man who ran the Fillmore East and West was named Bill Graham, and he on the marquee he put B Skaggs and C Blood, which is kind of catchy.
Nice. Wolfgang, that's quite the name.
Yeah, he had a very, very long German name. He changed it to Bill Graham. So that was another tangent that we've gone on that means absolutely nothing to most of you.
I wonder how ACDC would have, in a lot of these that we're going to talk about, you wonder what would have been had the current situation not changed. Like, would ACDC have been good with this dude from Crocus or what?
Yeah, and if you've never heard him, check him out. Check the band out. They were actually a pretty good band. Yeah. They were typical of the music for that time. They had some decent songs. As a matter of fact, the one song that, if you've ever heard of Crocus, there's one song you've heard of, and it's called "Long Stick Goes Boom."
Yep.
That was the one that if you've ever heard them, then that's the one song. Okay, your turn.
Well, I'm naturally going to start with Nirvana.
Oh, no. I would have never guessed that.
Nirvana's big in my formative years.
Mm-hmm.
But David Grohl, who a lot of people know is the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, was not the original drummer for Nirvana.
Oh.
In fact, they went through a bunch of them, but there was a guy named Chad Channing who played on their first album, which was called Bleach. And that album was not the album that broke them. That was Nevermind, which had Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yes.
So Chad Channing was basically ousted from the group because Kurt Cobain and Chris Novoselic didn't think he was up to par of keeping the drums the task. They offered it originally to Dale Crover.
Oh, okay.
He's from the Melvins.
Yes, I've heard of them.
He did not join Nirvana because the Melvins were going to be a big thing.
Tell me something, Todd. Since I'm not that familiar with the Melvins, and only slightly familiar with Nirvana, even though they were quite popular, I know a lot about them.
Sure.
Did the Melvins actually amount to anything? Did they make like a third or one half of famous?
Maybe a third. They were very popular in Seattle and the whole West Coast scene for punk rock, and they were actually Kurt Cobain's idols.
Oh, is that right?
He idolized that group and wanted to be in the Melvins, but they would never let him in the Melvins. And then when he tried to, and Dale Crover did drum on some of their studio demos, which made it on a B-sides album. But he turned down, though he was on the Howard Stern show one time, and Howard asked him, he said, "Do you feel bad that you didn't get into Nirvana?" And he said, "No, I still get royalties from the B-sides record this sells."
Yeah.
So.
Well, that reminds me of what Groucho Marx once said. He said, "I would never join a club that would have me in it." And evidently, this guy for the Melvins felt the same way, right?
That's true.
So, moving right along, boys and girls. What have I got next here? Oh, here's a good one for you. In the late 1960s, we all remember the Yardbirds.
Yes.
The Yardbirds were very distinct in the fact that they probably had three of the best guitar players in their band at one time or another, and at one time I think they actually had two of them. At one time they had Eric Clapton, they had Jeff Beck, and they had Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
At different times, or I think Clapton and Beck were actually in together.
I think those two were, yeah.
So along rolls about 1969, and all of the other members except of the band that were in the band, except Jimmy Page, they all quit.
Yeah.
They say, "We've had enough of this, goodbye, see ya." And Jimmy Page is stuck with all these gigs that he's promised to play.
Yeah.
And the next thing that came out was Led Zeppelin.
Perfect.
And we all know what happened with Led Zeppelin. They became a very, very, very big thing, and probably between them and Grand Funk Railroad spawned more garage bands than anybody ever did.
You're probably right about that. Yeah, they're a great band.
Yeah, they were. As a matter of fact, so many bands tried to copy them that they started making their music hard to duplicate. For example, if you're a drummer, or even if you're not a drummer, if you ever try to play the song Black Dog, that's not an easy beat to keep because it's off with the guitar.
Yeah, it's on a. Yeah, it is.
I know as a drummer it was difficult for me. My band's never played it, but I'm just saying it was difficult.
I think Led Zeppelin is just their stuff's hard to sing.
Oh yeah.
Even Robert Plant can't do it anymore.
Robert Plant lost it about 1975 or 76. His voice. Well, the thing about Led Zeppelin was they never stayed in shape. They never tried to take care of themselves. They were all, they would do short tours. That was one thing that they figured out was that bands like Cream and Jimi Hendrix toured too much and they burned these guys out.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin didn't do that. But when they weren't touring and when they weren't in the studio, they did nothing.
Oh, really?
So their chops would deteriorate pretty much. And so that's what happened with Led Zeppelin. And so all the guys in the Yardbirds who thought they were going to go on to bigger and better things or nothing at all, Jeff Beck went on, and Eric Clapton went on, of course. But the rest of them, I think Eric Clapton had already joined Cream, so that's a no-brainer. That was a big thing. They were a big thing for a while.
Clapton could have been in Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Did you know, this is kind of similar,
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the helicopter that Stevie Ray Vaughan died in was supposed to be for Eric Clapton?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I don't have the notes in front of me, but somehow they switched and Clapton didn't end up taking that helicopter ride.
Wow.
And so a lot of people, when they found out the helicopter crashed, they thought Clapton had died.
Wow.
But it was Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That I did not know.
Yep.
What was that, 1987 or 88?
I want to say it was in the early 90s, like 91, 92. Maybe, no, it was probably the late 80s. I think you're right.
We can look it up.
Yeah. But yeah, it could have been Clapton. Kind of like the Buddy Holly, Richie Valens story, where, it was supposed to, it wasn't supposed to be Richie Valens or the Big Bopper on that plane, just Buddy Holly and his band.
But they all bid it that day?
Yeah, they all gave up seats because some of the people were sick and they didn't want them driving in the tour bus, so they traded seats. Like Waylon Jennings.
Oh yeah, okay.
Was Buddy Holly's bass player. He gave up his seat to Richie. He might have given it up to the Big Bopper, but one of them because they were sick.
So Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly, they all bid it in the same plane.
Same plane.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Waylon Jennings gave up his seat. I guess that's a blunder.
How to be a nice guy and really screw yourself,
Yeah. You know what? You don't feel well, so I'll let you die.
Yeah. Okay, your turn. You're on next.
So a lot of people, I'm going to go to the Beatles.
I was in junior high when they came out.
Were you? Did you watch them on the Ed Sullivan Show?
Oh gosh, between the screaming you couldn't hear anything anyway. But yeah, I watched them.
I'm jealous. I've seen it on YouTube, but it's not the same.
No.
That initial feeling must have just been the coolest thing. like you thought it was cool. Your parents were shaking their heads.
Oh, they were. The Beatles with their long hair. That was the end of the world,
Oh yeah.
That was the end of civilization, according to my parents. And then, of course, you can't even imagine what they thought when Jimi Hendrix came out. Please continue, Todd.
Billy Crystal described it. Billy Crystal's dad was in the jazz music industry.
Okay.
And his dad passed away before the Beatles came, but he explains in his one-man show that he's watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and he goes, I was in seventh heaven. To me, I was seeing the Beatles, and to my mom, she was just, because she was seeing the death of jazz music. So Pete Best was the former drummer of the Beatles.
Yes.
A lot of people know him just for that. But did you know that they had a bass player before that?
No, I didn't know that one.
Stuart Sutcliffe.
Oh, okay.
Was his name.
Did he come over from the Silver Beatles with Lennon or not?
It doesn't say here. He very well might have.
Okay.
He probably did because McCartney would have replaced him.
Right.
So he quit the band in 1961 to focus on his painting. Yep. He had a postgraduate scholarship to the Hamburg College of Art. And
now he makes Hamburg.
No, he died at the age of 21, actually.
No kidding.
He had an aneurysm.
Holy cow.
But had he stayed with the band, he might have seen at least a little bit of the early fame.
Yeah.
So, yeah, music wasn't going anywhere in the Beatles, so might as well take up painting.
Yeah.
And Pete Best, of course, everybody knows, is there's two different theories to why Pete Best no longer was in the Beatles. He was asked to leave. Some people say that it's because he just wasn't a good enough drummer to keep the beat. Other people think it's because Lennon and McCartney wanted somebody less attractive on drums, so they'd be the more attractive ones.
Well, they certainly got their wish.
No, Ringo's a good-looking guy.
Oh, boy, I'm telling you.
And mark my words, Ringo is going to outlive them all.
Yeah. Oh,
well,
yeah.
It's just him and Paul now, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know who's in better shape or worse shape, but...
it's hard to say. Paul McCartney played on the Grammys.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, with Kanye West and Rihanna. So...
I'll tell you one thing, McCartney is a very talented musician. He was one of the first group to play every instrument on his own album. Then he made a big mistake. He let Linda sing a couple of tracks, and that was that.
That was it?
No.
Is that what broke up Wings?
No. Well, it could have been. It might have been. I know that's happened to 2 or 3 other bands when a husband and wife and the wife gets too involved.
Like John Lennon?
Like Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Oh, that Double Fantasy album. Half of it's great because it's John Lennon. The other half sucks because it's Yoko Ono. If
you ever want to hear the all-time worst album in the world, go see the Plastic. Find a copy of the Plastic Ono Band live in Toronto.
I don't want to.
It was so bad. They had Clapton on guitar. And
really?
And Lennon was in it, and Yoko Ono was on. I don't know who else. They'd never played together. They never rehearsed. They just did this thing. And by the end of it, Yoko Ono is basically just wailing and screaming like a banshee, and it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. So, other bands that have done this, like I said, Yoko Ono and John Lennon. There was Linda and Paul McCartney was another one, and one that I know no one has ever heard of until I say this. The band was called Mountain. You remember their song Mississippi Queen, and if I don't say Mississippi Queen, nobody knows who Mountain is.
Leslie West.
But yeah, he was great. And the band was produced and run by Felix Pappalardi, the bass player, and his wife Gail Collins did a whole bunch of things, and it drove Leslie West crazy until finally the band broke up. And eventually she ended up shooting Felix anyway.
Yeah, I thought she did.
Yeah, it was supposed to be some sort of an accident, but they say it was a drug-induced stupor or something, and she accidentally shot him. But anyways.
Speaking of that, did you know that before Kurt Cobain died, he was actually thinking about leaving Nirvana and joining Courtney Love's band Hole?
Oh my gosh.
He was seriously thinking about it.
Now seriously, Todd, I want to, and all you folks out there,
yeah,
who in their right mind names their band Hole?
Well, I don't think Courtney Love was ever in her right mind.
That is a fact. And I'm not going to even tell you my Wayne Gretzky, Courtney Love joke.
No, I don't think you can say that on the air.
I can't say that on here.
That's not appropriate for viewers.
But if any of you want to hear the joke, you can call me here at the station and I'll tell it to you later.
Yeah, call 334-0264 for the joke of the day. It is a bad joke.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible.
But I can't imagine Kurt Cobain playing in that band. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know how he could even get along. I don't know how they could even get along with each other.
He probably would have killed himself sooner.
I hadn't thought of that. maybe he would have killed himself and then killed her later.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Take this. I'll show her.
What are you laughing at? You're next. Okay, am I up now?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
I can't follow that.
The next one I've got here is, I don't even know the year. I'll have to look up the year, but Pat Boone decides he wants to play heavy metal.
Pat Boone?
Pat Boone. And I think I showed you
like
one.
Like the crooner? Pat Boone.
Yeah. From the late 50s, early 60s. And he takes a bunch of songs, one of which I'm very familiar with. It was called Holy Diver by Ronnie James Dio. Yep. And this was so horrendous. I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. And, of course, he just went to he didn't, you don't have to ask for permission. You just pay a royalty.
Right.
And he did. And Ronnie James Dio said, after allowing this, may God or the devil strike me dead.
Wow. So it wasn't a Johnny Cash, Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails thing.
It was horrible. And I think he even tried an Iron Maiden song or two or something else. And everything Pat Boone touched that was heavy metal became worse than light aluminum.
Light aluminum.
And I don't know what he expected to how to boost his career, but it was terrible. It was absolutely. I would be ashamed to even. I wouldn't even try to sing like Ronnie James Dio or do any of his songs because I couldn't do it justice. Okay, I could not do his music justice.
But there's no artistic like. Was he paying homage to them or what was?
I have no idea.
Because there's this band called Postmodern Jukebox.
Yeah.
And they do ragtime arrangements of all the popular songs of today, and they're fantastic. And most of the time, it's better than the original. Like they'll take a Miley Cyrus song and actually make it good.
Well, I sent you that cartoon about train wrecks, didn't I? Yeah, there was something about got one of the train wrecks. Oh, you've heard of Miley Cyrus?
Yes, I have.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree. For
but
example,
I don't think he was making
Weird Al Yankovic did some great parody work.
Oh, yeah.
There were some songs that he did that I liked better than the original. For example, he did Michael Jackson's Beat It, and he made a song called Eat It, and I thought it was far better.
Oh, yeah.
Or Like a Surgeon from Madonna. That was hilarious.
Weird Al Yankovic should have been the lead singer of ACDC. Then I would have liked him.
I remember when he did the parody of Teen Spirit.
Yep.
And you know what Nirvana said to him? Well, he asked permission. He said, sure, but we hope you're not going to make the song about food. Because he does a lot of songs about food.
Almost all of his songs are about, not all of them. But.
And he said, no, it's a song about the fact that no one can understand the words to your songs.
Yeah.
So if you've ever heard Smells Like Nirvana, that was a pretty good one.
That was a good one. He won a Grammy, I think.
He may have.
I think he did. I think he won a Grammy this year. Finally.
And the people he's had in his band over the years, I've seen some of his concerts on TV, and they're very good musicians, excellent musicians.
My buddy Jared went to see him at Meadowbrook. He said it was a great show.
Yeah, and I know that I was going to go see that until I saw the price of the tickets.
How much?
$125.
For Weird Al?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that quite well.
I paid less to see Dylan. Seriously, I paid $65 to see Bob Dylan. Why would I pay $125 to see Weird Al?
I don't know. That year, every act at Meadowbrook was very, very expensive. Wow. I don't remember. I think I don't know. I think I paid $75 or $85 to see Brett Floyd, and that was a good show. But
that wasn't at Meadowbrook, was it?
No, that was at the Flynn.
Yeah.
That was an excellent show. But anyways, you're up next.
Okay, this one's interesting. I never heard about this one. I just happened to find it when I was researching the Stuart Sutcliffe thing from the Beatles. Blue Oyster Cult.
Ah, I love those guys.
I know you do. That's why I printed this out, and I didn't tell you beforehand, so it'd be a total shocker for you.
I've seen them twice.
I knew you'd seen them once.
Yeah, 86 at the Memorial Auditorium in Burlington, and 2010 at Indian Ranch in Massachusetts, outdoors.
Were they Blue Oyster Club by then?
Well, actually, there was only two guys from the original. I think they were. They might have been. In wheelchairs and ready for. Anyways, they're getting up there in years. There was only two guys from the original band, and all the rest of the guys looked like they came off the streets of Brooklyn, New York. And I think they were. So go ahead.
All right. So they used to employ writers from outside of the band to write lyrics for them back in the day. One of their most famous lyricists was Patti Smith.
Oh, I know her.
The
punk rocker.
Yeah.
I liked her.
So before she formed her own band, and she's the one. Patti Smith is one of the people that helped start the punk rock movement in New York City. Not in London, obviously.
No.
But the resurgence of punk in the early '80s, late '70s. They offered her a chance to be the band's lead singer, and she turned it down. But I wonder what Blue Oyster Cult would have sounded like with her as a singer.
I don't know. That is, this is going to be hard for you guys to believe out there. I can't even wrap my head around that one.
No, I can't either.
Because I've been listening to Blue Oyster Cult since, when was it? 75 or 76. Mm-hmm. I think the first song of theirs I heard was Don't Fear the Reaper. Oh, yeah. And my favorite of all time of theirs was called Godzilla.
Yep.
That was a great song. And, of course, later on they did Burning for You. And the other one that I really liked, the first time I ever saw them, which was 86 in Burlington, they came up with a song, and I go, wow, this sounds so great live. It was Veterans of Psychic Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And if anybody can figure out the words of that song, I want to hear what your take is on it, because I can't figure out what it is they're talking about. They may not be able to either.
It's been so long, I can't. Yeah, I'll have to listen to it.
That song came out, I think, in 81 or 82, so maybe Patti Smith wrote it.
She might have. She very well might have. But can you imagine her?
Let's give her a call later.
Yeah, we'll call her. I'll call her right up.
You're going to find this funny, but I used to work in a machine shop with a woman named Patti Smith.
Did you?
Yeah.
I love that. There was a guy that used to come into the Derby Village store when I was, fresh into high school, and he'd write a check, and his name was Neil Young.
Oh, yeah.
And it was up in the corner. I would always say, I like your music, and he'd always go, shut up. So you knew Patti Smith, I knew Neil Young. We're doing good.
Well, we have, what's his name, Keith Richard, that does some video
work. We do have Keith Richards here, yeah.
Yeah. He does some filming for the Osher Lecture Series when Ron Belfay's not here.
It's got to be interesting growing up with a name like that, doesn't it?
Oh, boy. I changed my name in 1998 for lesser reasons.
For lesser reasons?
I would have definitely done it before that. Okay, have I got the next one?
You do.
Okay.
I've only got 2 left.
1978. Kiss goes disco.
Oh, geez.
Talk about a career dampener. They came out with a song, I Was Made for Loving You. And right at the heart of the disco thing, each one of the guys in the band made their own album. And I think one of them, I think it was Ace Frehley, came out with one. Yeah, he came out with New York Groove, which was kind of disco-ish. The band came out with I Was Made for Loving You. And then I think the drummer, Peter Criss, came out with Beth, which was the only hit.
Beth, what can I do? That one?
Yeah, that was kind of a ballad, and that wasn't really disco. But when they went disco, so many people got really disgusted with them.
I did not know until you sang me the chorus of that song last week that was Kiss.
Well,
I had no clue that was Kiss.
It was horrible.
I didn't like Kiss to begin with.
Yes.
But this didn't help any.
And now he hates them with a deep purple passion.
I do. I hate them even more now.
Well, you have good reason to. You have very good reason.
I shouldn't say I hate them. I'm just not a big fan.
I will say one good thing that Kiss did.
Okay.
They sponsored Van Halen and got their career started.
Did they?
Gene Simmons of Kiss put up the money for a demo for Van Halen.
Good call.
And that started him off. Yeah.
Huh. Boy, could you imagine Kiss doing like the Saturday Night Fever album? I'm trying to conceivably think why Kiss would do that.
Because disco was so big back then.
Right, but it's not like Kiss needed. Was their career in a downswing at that point?
I don't see how.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it might have been because they were even stooping so low as to do, I don't know what you call it. They even tried their hand at acting. And their little mini movies were horrible. They couldn't act to save their lives.
They're just not good at anything they do.
Mm-hmm. But at least
I'm going to be like beat up by all these Kiss fans now. You realize that?
But the one thing that Kiss did know, they knew how to be, how would you call it? They knew how to be brilliant in their stupidity. They basically took rock and roll music and put it into professional wrestling. They essentially took that sort of an audience, and they, as a matter of fact, I was reading an article about them, and on stage, when they recorded their album, when they released that live album, they had to overdub just about everything.
Their live album?
Yeah, their first live album had to be, everything had to be overdubbed because they had so much going on, awesome. So much fireworks, so much other theatrics going on that they couldn't stay in time because it was too much happening. Too much fire, too much smoke, too much everything. And they couldn't stay in time.
They were more of a spectacle.
Yeah. Now you get bands, for example, that have even better light shows. For example, I would dare anybody to come up with a better light show than Nine Inch Nails, and they actually play in time together.
All right. I wonder if the in-ear monitors make a difference.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just not a fan of Kiss, so I could probably blame it on their lack of musical ability. But but people really do love Kiss, so I'm all done trashing Kiss. I will give them, though, they brought the theatrics to rock and roll. Oh, yeah. They really did.
Yeah, they certainly did. They brought it to a whole nother level that no one had ever thought of.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're still going. And you know the best thing about Kiss is?
What's that?
You look at them now and you look at them back then, and they look the same because they put makeup all over their face. You can't say that for the Rolling Stones.
No. until Gene Simmons takes it off.
Yeah. But nobody really knew what they looked like at first, right? For a while.
Oh, for a long time, nobody knew what they looked like.
Wasn't Beth the first song they ever did without their makeup?
I think it was later. That was in the 80s. It was almost the 1980s. And, oh, gosh. There wasn't Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons stayed in the band. Peter Criss and Ace Frehley ended up with very bad drug problems. And they were replaced by Vinnie Vincent and, oh gosh, I can't think of who else it was. There was a couple guys that replaced them.
I did know that.
A matter of fact, one of the guys that was in Kiss, and I can't remember his name offhand, he ended up in Grand Funk Railroad when I saw them, way late in their career.
Really?
Yeah. I wish I could remember the guy's name.
Was he wearing the makeup?
No, heavens no. I saw a Grand Funk in 2009 or 10, I think it was, and
right.
they were kicking ass. They were good. They were very good. They stayed in shape. Those guys stayed in shape.
Huh.
And they were still really good, even into their 50s and 60s.
That's great. Well, enough about Kiss.
Yeah, we've beaten that horse to death. Here's another one for you guys, another band you probably don't remember. But the day Fast Eddie Clarke left Motorhead was a bad decision on Fast Eddie's part, because he formed his own band called Fastway, and the music was pretty good, and I had a couple of CDs of theirs, but their career torpedoed really fast.
Was this before Motorhead was a big, or no?
Oh, no, it was after.
Really?
Motorhead had released about 6 or 7 albums, and then Ian Kilmister, also known as Lemmy, and you know why they called him Lemmy?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, but they might not.
Every time he went on tour, he would always go around to everyone and go, "Lend me a 5 or lend me a 10 or lend me a 20." But his real name is Ian Kilmister, and he wanted to make an album. Everybody was doing these collection albums. Like, for example, one band member would form with another band member and do this special thing or whatever it was, and Ian Kilmister decided to do a song with Wendy O. Williams of the Plasmatics.
Really?
And evidently it was so bad, Fast Eddie Clarke not only was so upset with it, they even guaranteed that they would put on a disclaimer on it that he did not play on this album. He quit it anyway, because he said it sounded like Mickey Mouse on helium. And if you've ever heard Wendy O. Williams of the Plasmatics, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'll have to check that song out.
I don't even know what the name of the song. I don't know if it ever got released or what happened, but it was horrible.
So he quit because of that?
Oh yeah.
What did he play? What was he?
He was a lead guitar player.
He was.
He was a very competent one too. His first album was good. His second album was actually pretty good. He had a singer by the name of, gosh, I can't remember his name either. Anyways, this kid that he at Fast that he hired sounded like Robert Plant.
Really?
Yeah, he sounded fantastic singer. Wish I could remember his name. He moved like him. He sounded like him.
Huh.
But 3 albums later, that was it. Gone.
Done.
See ya.
Bad decision.
Very bad. You're up next.
Do you have Dave Mustaine?
No.
Metallica?
No.
Oh, do you know that one?
Oh yes, I do. That's a good one. You gotta tell us this one.
All right, so Dave Mustaine. Mustaine.
Doesn't matter.
Mustang Sally.
Mustang Sally.
So Metallica gave him the boot. This says in 1983, before they released Kill 'Em All.
Yep.
And Ride the Lightning. And of course, he went on to forge a gigantic career with Megadeth.
Good band also.
I mean, I would say gigantic is, compared to Metallica, maybe not gigantic. But Megadeth had at least 3 really big albums, right?
Yeah, and they're still making albums too. I remember their first album was called Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good.
Yep.
And I didn't hear about them until their second album, Peace Sells But Who's Buying, and that was good.
That was a good one.
That was a very good one.
But didn't they just get rid of him because he was basically a jerk?
He was an alcoholic.
Yeah. Okay.
He admitted it later on. And he said, I wish somebody told me to go to an AA meeting. He said, because I was totally out of control.
Huh.
Nobody could stand him. Nobody could get along. He would just fire people out of his band any old time he felt like it.
I think he did that in Megadeth too, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what he meant.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. He did it in Megadeth. He had a pretty good drummer by the name of Gar Samuelson, and all next thing you know, he boots him, and that was too bad. And then I don't know what album came after Peace Sells, but I probably have it. I have a whole bunch of Megadeth albums.
Yeah, I can't remember. Heck of a guitarist, but man, missed out on Metallica.
I would say that Megadeth probably achieved the same status as Anthrax and Slayer.
Sure.
probably right around that.
But you know what? If it wasn't for Metallica getting rid of him, there might not have been a Megadeth.
Exactly.
So thank you, James Hetfield.
Yeah. It just shows how much good alcohol does for you.
Yeah.
And it must have been bad. And the reason I say that Mustaine must have been so terrible was because Metallica had its own alcohol problems.
Oh, sure they did.
And they even said at the time they should have been called Alcoholica. They were so bad. Yeah. They were when MTV actually used to be MTV before it started all this reality crap.
Right.
He was on there and he said, Metallica was on there and said, yeah, we were so out of control. They should have called us Alcoholic. We were so bad. Oh, yeah.
That would be a great band.
I remember a commercial for a fictitious band called Ironica.
Ironica?
Yeah, it was a fictitious sort of band. Anyways.
There you go.
Dave Mustaine. You got to love to hate him.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
No, I've got, like I said, a bunch of their CDs, and they made some damn good music. I think, yeah, it was right after Ride. But did he play on Ride? No, he didn't play on Ride the Lightning, did he?
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe.
But his career started like probably about a year later after he got kicked out.
Yeah.
And or he left or whatever happened to him. And their albums in the beginning, Megadeth was just as popular as Metallica. It wasn't until later on Metallica really took off.
After the Black Album, probably. Yeah.
The Black Album really did it. So, what have I got next here?
I don't know, but I've only got one more.
Okay, I've got a couple. Dee Snider of Twisted Sister.
Okay.
He decides to testify before a congressional hearing about labeling music, which I'll get to in a second. Labeling music as obscene.
Right.
If you buy a CD these days, you might see the sticker that says Parental Advisory.
Right.
And I'll get to why that was a mistake also. But anyways, Dee Snider goes before Congress with Frank Zappa and John Denver, and he testifies. And in his testimony...
John Denver was part of that?
Oh, yeah. Well, the PMRC was trying to say that his song Rocky Mountain High was about drugs.
Oh, geez.
And it wasn't.
Come on.
You know?
It was about Coors Light.
No. It was probably the tamest song you'll ever imagine. And anyways. So
That's awesome.
Dee Snider gets up there, and instead of coming across as a buffoon, he comes off as a very well-read, well-spoken guy.
Sure.
And
like Zappa.
Yeah. And his whole shtick was, I'm a Christian, I have a family, I'm a good father, I'm a family man. And that torpedoed his career because you never heard of Twisted Sister after that. Because all of his fans being young kids, and his songs were about rebellion, like We're Not Gonna Take It,
We're not gonna
and You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, and songs like that, and I Want to Rock, those were all teenage rebellion songs. He comes out as this good father, good Christian, doesn't take drugs, doesn't drink, and it's like, see ya, bye. Well, and that was the end of that career.
We don't want to idolize that guy anymore for having his life together.
Right, exactly.
That's a bunch of crap.
Because when you're 14, 15, 16, even 17 years old, and your hormones are raging and you don't even know why, you have to have someone to rebel with you because you're clueless.
Nirvana.
Yeah. Now that's a ticket. See? They never went before the PMRC.
No.
Or Congress or anything.
No. I couldn't even imagine.
and then they asked, who was it? I don't know if it was Tipper Gore or this Hollings from South Carolina asked him what SMF, Friends of Twisted Sister, meant.
I think it was Tipper Gore, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not allowed to say what he said. But he said it, and the whole place laughed like crazy.
Yeah.
Again, call the station. I'll tell you what he really said.
Call Terry for the uncensored version of this show.
Which leads me to my next segment.
Okay.
Very, very, very bad move by I don't know. Tipper Gore started it. Al Gore's ex-wife.
Right.
And mother of 5 or 6.
Wait, they're not married anymore?
No.
Really?
Yeah, he got caught cheating.
He did? How do I not know this?
After 5 or 10 kids, or how many they had.
Is this after he was out of the White House?
Oh yeah, way after that. Yeah.
Is this before he invented the internet, or
after? Probably watching too much of it.
When he made an Inconvenient Truth, was he doing something else that was inconvenient?
Probably. That's probably around the time. But
wow, I had no idea.
Tipper Gore being the vice president's wife, started this thing called the PMRC, known as the Parents Music Review Council.
Right.
And they lobbied and lobbied and lobbied and lobbied the music industry to put these warning stickers on for anything that they thought was obscene. Now, why is this a bad move? I'll tell you, there's 2 reasons why. The album that they showed, and I'll try to find a cover of it to show you, was a picture of a band called Wasp.
Yeah.
And there was a picture of Blackie Lawless in tight leather pants with a saw blade in his crotch and blood running down his legs.
Yeah.
Now, that album probably sold 10,000 copies. When they got done parading this thing from coast to coast and showing it to everybody, it sold over 100,000 copies. Nice going. If you really want to put a damper on something, you totally failed.
Don't call attention to it.
And the other reason it was so bad was you get a guy like Ian Kilmister, Lemmy of Motorhead.
Yep.
He comes on and he says, PMRC, he said, put 4 or 5 of those damn stickers on my albums, they'll sell even more.
Was it Dr. Dre that was actually the cover of his album?
I don't know.
I think it was. Or maybe it was, I think it was Dr. Dre. It might have been Snoop Dogg. Somebody.
Yeah, one of those guys. I know that, Dr. Dre had a penchant for using a lot of vulgarity.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, though, because kids are going to want, if you tell them that it's explicit and that theoretically parents can't have, parental advisory, the kids are going to want it.
Of course they are.
It's like wanting to go see an R-rated movie when you're 14 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
You just want to go see it because you're not supposed to.
Well, to take that to even a degree further, and Todd brings up a good point here, back in the former Soviet Union, Western music was against the law. Whether it was Iron Maiden...
Country and Western?
No, we're talking about Iron Maiden.
We know like country music.
Or even Pat Metheny.
Pat Metheny? He's
yes,
a jazz guitarist.
Anything from the Western Hemisphere, anything from Western Europe and the Western Hemisphere, any music was banned.
Huh.
But if you wanted to spend 1 week's wages, you could get them. And that music flooded into the former Soviet Union.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's all about taboo, and it might not even be that cool, but if you're not supposed to have it and you can have it, so much better. We used to, as kids, remember was it BMG Music Club and Columbia Music Club, and like you pay 10 cents for 400 CDs and then they'd charge you $10,000 and you take your firstborn child and all that stuff.
Yep.
We used to be mad when they'd send us the edited versions of albums.
Oh.
If you got one that didn't have the parental advisory thing on it, it meant it was edited. So they would literally clip out where the swears are going to be.
Walmart was doing that too for a while.
Walmart did that too.
That's why I don't buy any music from Walmart.
I think Walmart still does that. I'm not positive. Maybe not.
They might, but who?
Yes, they do. Because I bought a Green Day CD there.
Oh.
Like a recent Green Day CD. And yeah, where the F-bomb would have been.
Huh.
Well, and I was like, I'm a grown man.
Yeah.
Can I choose?
Well, that's the thing. When you're an adult, I mean, all that is bogus. I think I've bought 1 CD from Walmart ever. It was an album by Republica, which was a pretty good band. I like them.
So you're telling me I need to swear on at least one song on my new album so I can put that sticker on it?
Todd, you need to get several of these stickers and you'll explode off the charts. Believe me.
Okay, I'm going to remember this.
Okay.
I'm going to write a song called, I can't say it.
You got the next one.
I've got one more.
Me too.
And that's it.
Me too.
And Terry's favorite band, the Gin Blossoms.
Really? How did you know? No.
So the Gin Blossoms fired they had a guitarist and a songwriter named Doug Hopkins.
Okay.
Before they got popular. He wrote Hey Jealousy and he wrote Found Out About You, which were two of the, other than Allison Road, were pretty much the band's hits. Mm-hmm. And he was fired for the same reason that Dave Mustaine was fired from Metallica, because of alcoholism.
Oh, wow.
He couldn't keep it together. And but he wrote those 2 songs, and they became a huge hit without him. So here's the interesting part, though. He committed suicide in 1993.
Okay.
So I don't even know if he would have seen the success true success of the Gin Blossoms. I think they were just starting to do well. But at his memorial service, he had the messenger inform the band that he put sugar in their gas tanks during their last tour. That was in like his will. Just so he could keep messing with the Gin Blossoms because he was so mad that he got fired from that band. But yeah, he was fired because he was an alcoholic, and then Scotty Moore replaced him.
Oh, okay.
And I've hung out with Scotty Moore 3 or 4 times.
Is that right?
He's a nice guy.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I could not name a song by the Gin Blossoms. I've heard of them, but I haven't heard them.
Yep.
Last on our list, and the #1 biggest career blunder of all time in rock music.
That would be...
is a guy by the name
Elvis Presley joining... No, I don't know.
Buckwheat, Zydeco, and the Zodiac Mind Warp.
Yes.
No, the #1. This tops it. Terry Reid. Terry Reid was a singer in England in the 1960s. Mm-hmm. When it comes to bad career moves in rock, no one tops Terry Reid. Despite his profound talent, and I used to have 2 of his albums, by the way, and he had an excellent voice. Yeah. He released several amazing solo records and still performs live to adoring crowds. He said no to not 1, but 2 of the biggest acts in rock music. Okay. The first bad decision was made in 1968, when guitarist Jimmy Page was trying to put together a band tentatively called the New Yardbirds, a name which Keith Moon told Page would go over like a lead balloon.
That's how they got the name?
Yeah, a phrase that inspired their eventual name, Led Zeppelin.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Truth is stranger than fiction, boys and girls.
That's awesome.
But Reid had already committed to a tour opening for Cream, so he suggested that Page give Band of Joy singer Robert Plant a shot.
Wow.
And of course, we know.
Thank you, Terry Reid.
Yeah, and I'll have a graphic of him also. 1 year later, Reid was approached by the band Deep Purple, who were looking to replace their original singer, Rod Evans. Reid said no to that gig as well, declining instead to see where his solo career would take him. Deep Purple hired Ian Gillan, and the rest is history.
That's right.
And believe me, that was a good move. Ian
Gillan's amazing.
One of the best voices in all of rock.
He did Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yes, he did.
And he did it really well. He was Judas, right?
No, he was Jesus.
Or was he Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was.
And that was big when I was in college the first time, but I never saw it because I wasn't that interested in it.
So he turned down Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple.
You know, if I had a chance,
if he could have kept going a few more years, he could have missed out on being the lead singer of Van Halen too.
Yep, he could have, and ACDC.
They fired David Lee Roth, and they asked Terry Reid, and he said nah. So they got Sammy Hagar.
You know, I'm going to research that.
I bet you'll find it's true. That's going to be a bummer, though.
Yeah,
that could have been it. Well, but you said he's still got a career.
And I looked him up on YouTube, and I hear some of his songs, and I remember a couple of songs that he did way back in the late '60s, early '70s, and his voice still sounds the same. But still, how do you pass up Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple?
He just doesn't like good music. I don't know.
Oh boy, I can't even imagine that. But I've got to tell you, Deep Purple did well. Both bands did really well without him.
Terry Reid is now the lead singer of Chumbawamba.
Yeah.
That's a joke. That's not for real. People are Googling it.
Yeah, he's got a new band called We Don't Have Any Name because we can't figure out who we are. Yeah.
I like that name. Yeah. It's catchy.
Really,
Wow.
This when I read this, I just had to chuckle because I remember buying a couple of his records way back, and they did an old Sonny and Cher tune. He did one called Bang Bang.
Yeah, he
did that one and a few others, and the guy had a good voice, but his record company recorded him really horribly, and the sound was garbage. So, at any rate. If you know of any big blunders in rock music that you think we might be interested in, let us know, because probably we won't be interested. But anyways, you can call us anyhow. And if you
We probably don't care.
We probably don't care. And once you finish watching this show, you won't either. You'll say, I've just wasted another good hour of my life watching this stupid show.
Right. Oh, well.
But that's the way it goes.
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Absolutely.
Something.
Todd, been a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
We'll do this again next month, and we'll bore some people some more. If you have any ideas for the show, give us a call.
Sounds good.
334-0264. And good day, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Bye now.